Hey guys, this information or this video is going to cover the information from Chapter 10, Lesson 3, which deals with probability and heredity. And the pages that this PowerPoint covers are from 398 to 403. So let's look at probability. You probably remember this term from math. Probability is using a number to describe how likely an event will occur. And down here we know that we have a coin. A coin flip we know has a probability of 50% of the time landing on heads and 50% landing on tails. Okay? And again, this is a prediction of what would likely occur. Okay? It's not what exactly will occur. And very important about probability, okay, the more trials that we perform, okay, the closer the results are going to be to the predicted probability. So, for example, we flip a coin, let's say 2 times, okay, we may get 2 heads, we may get 2 tails, okay, or a head and a tail, which would be the one that would give us 50%. Now, if we flipped a coin 100 times, we are much more likely to get the predicted probability than if we did just a couple of trials. And also very important, each trial is independent of all the others. So if I flip a coin, let's say 5 times, and all 5 times it lands on head, the 6th time that I flip it, I still have a 50% chance of head and a 50% chance of tail. Remember that each individual trial is independent of the others. So let's look at probability and genetics. Okay, so if we look here, the question says, what's the probability of the dominant trait showing up in a hybrid? Remember, we know a hybrid is one dominant form of the allele and one recessive form of the allele. Okay? A purebred would be either 2 dominant or 2 recessive. Okay, so here we have a dominant and recessive, so this is a hybrid. We're breeding a hybrid with a hybrid. And I'm going to show you guys here in a little bit how to use, this is called a Punnett square. Okay, and we're going to look at how to use a Punnett square to predict probability. So here we have our male flower, and we're looking at, this looks like petal color. And again, has one dominant form of the allele, one recessive form of the allele. Okay, and we can see that the dominant has to be purple, all right, because here we see the same thing with the female, okay, and we cross these 2 organisms, okay, and we look here, there's a 1, 2, 3, obviously each box represents 25%, okay. So there is a 75% chance that the dominant trait will show up and a 25% chance that the recessive trait shows up when you cross 2 hybrids. Okay? So if this happened to be the offspring, okay, it would be homozygous dominant, be purple colored flower. These 2, okay, would be heterozygous and have purple colored flower. The only way we get the white flower, which is obviously the recessive trait, is 2 recessive alleles. And again, I'm going to walk you through Punnett squares here shortly to show you how to complete the Punnett square. Okay, so again, in genetic crosses, okay, the combination of the alleles that the parent pass on to the offspring is based on probability. Again, you can see the genetic makeup of this parent and this parent, okay, and the predicted outcomes for the offspring. So if you look over on page 400 and 401, okay, so this is how we use a Punnett square. So I always put the male parent on top. It just helps me keep it straight. So when I'm working through word problems like you guys are going to tomorrow, once I get the information, I can start filling in my Punnett square with my information. So here I'm going to do a Punnett square with two heterozygous or hybrid parents. Okay, so here's my male parent. Let's just say from the activity we did yesterday, the R represents tongue rolling. Okay, so here we have our dominant trait. Okay, so this parent, and again, we're assuming that tongue rolling is a genetic trait. So let me get my pen here. Okay, so here we have the male parent, heterozygous, and he would be a tongue roller because of that dominant form of the allele. So here we have our female on the side, okay, heterozygous also, dominant and recessive form of the allele, and she is also a tongue roller because of that dominant form of the allele. So when we put together our Punnett squares, and it walks you through this on pages 400 and 401, okay, I always start with the top left and work down to the right. So here, capital R, and then go down again, capital R, lowercase r, lowercase r. Then I go right to left. Okay. And need that. Okay, here. And there. So again, okay, if we look here, okay, we brought the R straight down, okay, and then took, and then we brought the female across, and okay. So if we look at our offspring, here, tongue roller. There's the dominant form again, tongue roller. Same thing here. This would be the only non-tongue roller. So we would be 75% chance of a tongue roller and 25% chance, this one box, okay, of an offspring without the ability to roll their tongue. Let me click on. So it also works the same with determining gender in humans. Okay, so on our 23rd pair of chromosomes, males have an X and a Y. And if we were to draw the chromosome, the X looks like this. It's much larger, and the Y is a little tiny. That is what a male's 23rd pair looks like. Okay, a female's 23rd pair, I got a little sketchy down at the bottom, okay, but they have two X's, all right? So, again, determining gender, here we have our male gametes, okay? So let's say this was a sperm cell that had an X and a Y, okay? And, okay, here is our female egg with an X and an X. So, again, straight down and down. And then we take the female across, do the same here. So if we look, okay, these two would produce a female. and these would produce male. So again, 50% chance of having a female offspring, 50% chance of a male offspring. So talking about genotypes and phenotypes, right? We should have this committed to memory by now. Okay? A physical appearance or a visible trait are called what? Okay, so whether you have an attached earlobe or a free hanging earlobe, hitchhiker's thumb or not, okay? Widow's peak or straight hairline, these are phenotypes, okay? The physical characteristic. And the genetic makeup or the alleles are the genotype, okay? This is where we end up with our two letters, our capital and lowercase if it's heterozygous, two capitals if it's homozygous dominant, two lowercase if it's homozygous recessive. Okay, so again, like I just said, okay, an organism, okay, that has two identical alleles for a trait is said to be homozygous. We know homo means same. Okay, this would be homozygous dominant, two dominant forms of the allele. Okay, these are also the same. Okay, this would be homozygous recessive. This is the only way that recessive trait shows up, is to have two of the recessive alleles. Okay, that's homozygous. I gotta get out of that. And when an organism has two different alleles, okay, that is heterozygous. Hetero, we know, means different. So here we have a dominant and recessive allele. And if you happen to end up with this in your Punnett square, this is the exact same thing as this. Okay, one dominant form of the allele, one recessive form of the allele. And because the dominant is going to overpower or cover up the recessive, the dominant trait is going to show up in the phenotype. Okay, very important terms, and there's a look at our heterozygotes. Okay, so we're going to use this information, and I'm going to have another activity for you today to work through some SpongeBob genetics. So if you have questions, post them here, and I'll keep a lookout and try and help you out.